The Daily Beast has an article out today on Afghanistan, and I think it pretty much sums up our policy in the region for the last 14 years. It's titled, "Afghanistan is too dangerous for congressional visits." Well, that's lovely. They say, quote, "President Obama may have declared that the U.S. combat mission in Afghanistan has ended, but the country is still so dangerous that the Pentagon has banned members of Congress and their aides from traveling there this summer. While the Pentagon's ban was officially issued as guidance, congressional aides are calling it a blackout that prevents lawmakers from performing their oversight duties. The U.S. has spent trillions in taxpayer dollars fighting a war in Afghanistan and training and equipping the country's security forces, but this summer sees the beginning of the traditional fighting season when Taliban violence flares up." Wow. So, I didn't know that there was a season for that. That's fascinating. Like, you know how here's, oh, it's, you know, it's golf season, it's hunting season, it's this or that, it's time for my vacation or whatever it is. That's the conversation that you have in normal places. In Afghanistan, it's, oh, this is Taliban violence flare-up season. This is when you have all the crazy fundamentalists try to take over vast swaths of the country and start killing people. So that's not good. And also, I love how they kicked off this segment of the article here by saying, President Obama has declared the U.S. combat mission in Afghanistan has ended. Hashtag check your facts, bitch. Because as we've covered on this show endlessly, what do? They say, we have announced an end date for Afghanistan in 2010. 2010 rolls around, they're like, did we say end date? We meant end to combat troops date. We're still going to have troops there, but don't worry, guys, they're totally not combat troops. And then they'll say, now we're leaving in 2012, yes! 2012 rolls around, they're like, yeah, just signed an agreement to stay there for like another 8 years. And then they come back every 2 years, and they're like, okay, we're totally done this time, guys, we swear. And then what happens? Well, what happens is exactly like they phrase this here. The media reports, and the government says to the media, it's okay because we don't have any combat troops there anymore. But then when you look at the numbers, you find out very quickly there's still over 10,000 troops we have there. So we have 10,000 troops there, but don't worry, it's okay because it's not a war anymore. We're not doing combat anymore. You have over 10,000 troops there, and you're not going to call this a war? You're not going to say this is combat? Really? So if China put 10,000 troops in Alabama tomorrow, would we say, it's okay, guys, this isn't a combat mission. There's no combat, there's no war. So what? They put 10,000 troops there. No big deal. Please. And oh, they're not engaged in missions? My ass, they're not engaged in missions. The Daily Beast itself reported recently they were engaged in missions. So this idea of like, we can keep 10,000 troops there and not call it a war, nonsense. Like I've said before, and I'll say it again, that's like having sex with somebody and you say, I'm going to pull my penis out, but leave the tip in, so it's okay because I pulled out. But if you leave the tip in, you didn't pull out. You leave the tip in, you're still in there. You might have the whole shaft in there, but you're in there. You're not allowed to say, I'm not having sex at this point anymore. The tip is in, but I'm not having sex. That doesn't make any sense. Just like you can't say, I got 10,000 troops in there, but don't worry, there's no combat, it's not a war. My ass! So it makes absolutely no sense. But notice, what's the main takeaway from this story here, and what's the most important thing to remember? We've been there 14 years. We've made zero progress. Zero progress. In fact, there was a time when you could have at least visits from senators or congressmen or whatever. I don't know why they'd want to go there, to pretend like this is a good policy or whatever, but there was a time when you could. Now you can. So, if anything, it's gotten worse. So this is like the drug war. We've spoken about this before, how from the beginning of the drug war until today, we've spent over $1 trillion. And what are the results? Well, today, people are more likely to take drugs. So that's like the definition of failure. Because they even said originally, and there were, the UN, I think, spoke about this, and other international bodies spoke about this. They said the main goal is to, eliminate drug use. Not even limit it. They were like, let's eliminate it. Well, not only did you not limit it, you certainly didn't eliminate it. There's been an increase. So more people are doing drugs now, even though you wasted $1 trillion, and oh yeah, 60,000 people died in a literal war on the border, a drug war. So it's been an abject failure. By the same token, the war on terror has created more terrorists. There's been a net increase in terrorists since we declared the war on terror. So if the stated goal was, okay, let's eliminate or limit the number of terrorists, mission failed. You did the exact opposite. Because you killed so many civilians that you further radicalized the populations, and they turned to the only people they thought they could trust that were going to protect them, namely the Taliban, al-qaeda, and other jihadist groups. That's the pathetic failure here. That's the miserable failure here. And if the goal was, hey, let's secure Afghanistan and make it a thriving democracy, you made it way worse. Now the violence is so bad you can't even have a visit from somebody. I mean, that's insanity. Look, another amazing aspect of this conversation is, what was the goal in the first place? Because, remember, originally this was post 9/11, and they said, we're going to go into Afghanistan because that's where al-qaeda is. And we're going to get the al-qaeda sons of bitches who did 9/11. Specifically, we're going to get Osama bin Laden. Well, if that's your criteria, mission's been accomplished for years now. So what are we waiting for to get out? That's what they said. Okay, let's go get al-qaeda. They're hiding in Afghanistan. Okay. Well, now they're gone. According to our own CIA numbers, there's what, less than 100 al-Qaeda members left in Afghanistan? There's Taliban, but that's separate. Al-Qaeda was the one that did 9/11. Okay, mission accomplished. We destroyed al-Qaeda in that region, and we got Osama bin Laden. By any objective standard, according to what they originally told us, it's time to go the fuck home. But see, notice how they just keep moving the goalposts. There's, originally it was, let's get al-Qaeda. Okay, we got al-Qaeda. Okay, but while we're there, let's just fuck up the Taliban too. Okay, we push the Taliban back. Okay, but now there's seasonal violence. Seasonal. It's like hunting season or something. So they're going to come back in, and then they'll go back out, and we just got to stay there for a little bit longer to make sure we secure the region. And then what's going to happen? I got news for you. Whenever the fuck we pull out, the Taliban's going to come in and take over certain regions. So what does that mean? Is that an argument for us to stay there forever? No, but see, what I'm trying to get through to you guys is that is what the establishment wants. That is what they want. We had a Republican president, George W. Bush. We were in Afghanistan the entire time when he was there. Now we have a Democratic president. We're in Afghanistan the entire time he's here. So what are we going to do? The goal is to stay there. Why is the goal to stay there? Because a lot of people make a lot of money from what's going on right now. Now, some people might say, oh, that's conspiracy theory, that's this, that's that. But it's really not, because you just have to look at the numbers and you just have to follow the money. There are a lot of defense contractors who get no-bid contracts, $1 million contracts, $1 billion contracts in some cases. And then these people keep providing tanks, they keep providing aircrafts, they keep providing small arms and Humvees and all this different stuff. So a lot of people make a lot of money from being in Afghanistan, and then not to mention, while we're there, oh, would you look at that, they have a gigantic opium crop, which has only increased in exports since we've been there, and they have a whole bunch of minerals as well. I mean, I know people don't like to think of America, or I should say, a lot of people don't like to think of America as, oh, no, you guys act purely on altruism. There's no ulterior motives there. Well, every imperialist power, every superpower that has ever reached that pinnacle and reached that point, they all end up exploiting things for their own personal benefit. Now, I don't think that, that's the sole reason. I think people in power often rationalize their actions to themselves and say, I think we are doing the right thing. But while we're there, oh, let's take some of the minerals, let's get some natural resources, opium, let's get involved with all this stuff. And, oh yeah, my buddies in the defense industry are actually really happy right now. So, but either way, no matter how you diagnose the problem, no matter how you diagnose what's going on right now, what's clear is we've blown trillions of dollars and wasted American lives, not to mention untold civilian lives in Afghanistan, because we're there. So even if you don't accept any of, my criticism on this from that angle of the natural resources criticism and people are profiting criticism, even if you don't accept that, from a purely self-preservationist perspective, you can say, we need to get the fuck out of there. Trillions of dollars lost for what? We can't even turn the fucking water on in Detroit, but we're wasting trillions of dollars over there. And then American soldiers as well dying. It doesn't make any sense. Let's get out. But we're not hearing that from Republicans. We're not hearing that from Democrats. Nobody's talking about it because the establishment all agrees on the worst policies.